Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm Delina for those that are new here. We are in the kitchen today. This is probably one of the, next to the home tours, probably one of the most popular videos that I put out every year. And it is my cozy cottage kitchen for fall. As you can see in the background, I have lots of goodies to show you. I show you how to age copper molds for those that have been asking. I show you my technique. We're gonna decorate together and hopefully give you some fall inspiration, some ideas, and get you in the mood for those cozy, warm, cooler weather. Here it's still warm. It'll always be warm here in Southern Georgia for the fall. So let's get started. Where we're gonna start is where we enter from my living room into my kitchen. Originally, this was a dead space. This is the side of my oven. Okay, so about a year, a little over a year, I came to my husband with an idea. A viewer had, I think it was Deb Anderson, had suggested a plate rack for the opposite wall. But I thought this space was great. This is where my cutting boards originally had hung, and I wanted the ability to switch out my cutting boards or plates or whatever I chose to display. So I did a little research, came to my husband and said, could you build me this? He looked at it and he says, yeah, sure. My husband's great about those kind of things. So we sat down, we brainstormed, and came up with a plan to build this. This only cost us $50. We did have the beadboard from another project, so that cut down on cost. This is all one piece. So if I ever chose to move it, it just holds up by about 4 screws. You can pop it off and I can move it. That's the one thing. A lot of the ones that you see here on YouTube, they build it into the wall, and I didn't want that. I wanted a different option. So what we have here is, pan you up, I have placed some cutting boards that I find they're either vintage, Hobby Lobby, thrift store, given to me as gifts. Aldi's is great during the season if you can find some of their cutting boards. So I have up here a set of just 3 with a, it looks like a piece of tree sliced for the top one. Here on the second one, I have a Lazy Susan pumpkin that I found at Ross last year. Hobby Lobby, not even sure where I got that one. And then panning down, I've got a couple of oak leaf ones, and then the ones that I normally just keep on the bottom. And if you're interested in how to build this, I will link that video in the description box. It really is a simple project. You could even have Lowe's or Home Depot cut the boards to size for you. And all you really need is a nailer. And that was it, and some paint. Okay, so moving on, I'm gonna spin the camera around and we're gonna do my coffee bar area / refrigerator area. Now, this area all in through here was completely empty of anything, okay? This is not where the original refrigerator would have sat. We moved into the house about a little over 2.5 years ago. This would be classified as my eat-in area in my kitchen. Well, I didn't need that because our dining room is right outside that little area, and I just thought it was a waste of space. I originally had a hutch in here, and I didn't think it was the great use of space that it could be. And our refrigerator sits where our deep freeze sits now. And I looked at my husband, I said, look, I think to make the kitchen more efficient, here's what I would like to do. I would like to move the refrigerator over to this wall, add some cabinets that we can purchase from Lowe's, and some open shelving above the coffee area. And that way kind of utilize the space better. he looked at me and he says, yeah, it could be done. Just need to move the water line. And he says, I'll have to get up in the attic and go over. He hates when he has to get in the attic. And then I budgeted in the cabinets from Lowe's, the countertop, the shelves, and the top of the island are what they call a craft board or a work board from Lowe's that we cut and I stained. So it allowed us to move the coffee maker over here because it did not fit under my cabinets on the other side. It allowed me to have a refrigerator that opened completely, which it would not have been able to do in the space that it was originally provided for. And it gave me a pantry cabinet, which my cabinets, although I have a ton of them, do not have enough space. They're all custom built in, so I can't move the shelves, I can't move things around. So that's just to give you a little background. Oh, and the wallpaper is a brick wallpaper from Amazon that I'll link because I get a lot of questions about it. It stuck beautifully until we had the hurricane last year, and with the water damage and the moisture, it is now peeling. Christmas time, I'm going to take it all down, and then I'm going to put it, buy new and put it all back up. So that's how much I love it. So, okay, without more chit chat, we're going to go ahead and decorate this area. So we have the coffee maker here, and I usually have a candle here. We have the paper towel, blah, blah, blah. For the first shelf, we're going to start. I'm going to move you a little closer. So first thing I always do is put a doily. My grandmother made a ton of these, and I am fortunate enough to be blessed to get those. So that's my first thing. The next thing I have is, I bought this at Home Goods. Can't link it because at Home Goods, you get it when you can get it. It may not be there. I have some faux bagels from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to place that one right up in through here. Next to it, I have some white plates that I'm just going to stack. I got those at the Goodwill here where I live. I have a copper canister that contains the sugar right there. Next to it, I found this copper little vessel. This is where our coffee spoons sit. I'm going to move that in there, adjust everything just a little bit. And the last thing on the shelf is I have a little wooden bowl from Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby. With a little bit of faux greenery and a little fall pick. The piece that just fell. And I'm going to set that up in through here. Just to give it a little bit of fall. And that is our first shelf. Super simple. I like to keep things relatively simple until we move into the dining room or the spaces that I don't normally have to get into touch, on a daily basis. You'll see that on top of my refrigerator, which I treat it like an open shelving. You'll see it on areas that are not work areas in the kitchen. Okay, moving up, next shelf. Now, up here on the next shelf, I have a reproduction coffee mill. I'll link that for you. I got this off of Amazon. So I'm going to use that next to my cookbooks up here on the top shelf. On the other corner, I have a copper colander with a couple of those scoops you can get from Hobby Lobby with a little bit of faux greenery. And that's all I'm going to put in this. And I'm going to set that right up there. And that's the second shelf. Now, how I work it is, if you hang around towards to the end of the video, I give you a closer look for those that are new here. So if you don't see it up close, you will at the end, okay? So camera angles can be kind of funny, and especially when you're filming in a tight space. So the only thing I did change over on this wall, and let me spin you around. This one was from Hobby Lobby. This one I thrifted. I started off where there was nothing here before, and I filled this space. And then that's where I started. That was my first thing that I did for fall. Then I had this lamp up here that I had thrifted, which was also that like mustardy yellow color. And that was where I got my inspiration. I thought, okay, this is the color I'm going to use for fall. Because before that, to be honest, I was kind of like not feeling it. I thought, I have no idea what I'm doing. Nothing inspired me. Nothing spoke to me. I just couldn't like get in the mode or the mood for fall. I live in southern Georgia, and it is hotter than Hades here. Right now, we are still in the high 80s, tapping off at 90s. So it's kind of hard to get in that mood. I shopped Hobby Lobby. I looked through all their aisles. I hit the thrift stores, which is my favorite thing to do. And I thought, I need something, just something to give me that feeling that I know that I'm going in the right direction. Well, when I looked at those artwork, and then I looked at the lamp, and then I'm going to swing you just quickly just to show you, and then we'll talk about what's on the refrigerator. If you see the faux Roman blind that I sewed, that was fabric that I found at a local thrift store. It had that yellow in it, and I thought, okay, we're getting somewhere. This is where I'm going to take it and run. I'm going to look at my florals. I'm going to go with that. And then copper, of course, is always in my kitchen for fall. I love that warm metal for the fall. So all it takes sometimes is artwork, a piece of fabric, a color that will get my wheels turning and thinking, okay, do I have this? How much do I have of it? Is it workable? Does it all work together? So if you all ever wonder what my screwy little mind is doing and how I come about my color schemes or my ideas, that's how it occurs. Okay, I know I'm chit-chatting an awful lot. If you hear my throat a little, I've been under the weather the early part of this week. Got the creepy crud. And so that's why I sound a little funny. Okay, we're going to move up on top of the refrigerator. Okay. I hate being up on the step stool. This is that lamp that I told you was part of my inspiration. I have it sitting, I'm like carefully, also carefully because you guys are on a chair. Okay, I think I got you stable. Don't fall. I have it on a cookbook on a doily. This is plugged in behind the coffee maker, and it's on a timer, so it comes on. I don't have to click it on, I don't have to click it off. So really nice. I have a runner here that I have folded in half because it makes it easier to move things around. This I found at a thrift store on the bottom shelf, stuffed in the back, and I thought, it's a bread box. It was completely plain. It did not have the molding that it has that you see now. I cut that and put that on myself. I also changed out the knob. Didn't like the knob. I think, darkened it a little bit. So it was kind of a little more yellowy, as you can see, and I just darkened it just a tad. Now, this sits up here for now, but I can take it down and use it on my counter as an actual bread box, which I plan to do. As you know, I like multiple purpose items. I don't like to buy an item that's only good for one thing, other than artwork. So, all right, let's get started on the top. I have decided that I like some green in the fall. Oranges, all that, I love that too. Do not get me wrong. I think they're beautiful colors. But when you live in a southern state, it is not, we don't get the changes in color like some of the northern states do, or even upper southern states. So I like to incorporate a little bit of greenery in with my my fall decor. So I'm going to fold this napkin with the lace embroidery. It was given to me by my husband's aunt. I have artwork from Hobby Lobby. Always buy when it's 50% off. I darkened the frame. I'm going to set that right up there. Now, next to it, I have a scale that I bought from Hobby Lobby that I distressed with some dark wax to make it look older. And I'm going to set this, always having to adjust, right there. And I have some faux greenery up here, another doily. Now, for the last piece up here, I have a copper container, again, thrifted. You're going to hear me say that all the time. I think for the bang for your buck, thrifting is the way to go. I have a piece of faux greenery and some little leftover picks from my fall stuff that I just kind of stuffed in there, just to give it that little bit of yellowy color mixed in. And I'm just going to set that right there. And that is the top of my refrigerator. And again, at the end, you'll see a close-up of it. This time I kept it pretty simple. Now, the freezer topper is completely different than that. I went a little overboard. So, it's balance. It's, some areas are more, some areas are less. As long as it all flows together and looks good, that's all I care about. All right, I'm gonna get down off this ladder and get you off that chair so you don't fall. And then we're gonna move over. I think I'll discuss how to age those copper molds and show you exactly how I do that. And then I'll show you my spice rack. Okay, y'all, this is how I do my aged copper technique. You're gonna need Rust-Oleum bright coat in the bright copper color, or bright coat copper. And there's the number on it. And then some flat black paint. I'm gonna take this shiny, orangey copper mold, or sometimes you get them in their pink or green. And I'm gonna take that outside, because when you use spray paint, you need a well-ventilated area. And I'm gonna show you how I do this. And I have this crusty copper oil lamp that I'm gonna do the same technique to it. So, okay, we'll pick it up when I'm outside. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take that bright copper color and we're gonna give it a coating of that. Let me show. Doing this one-handed, all the way around it. Now, while that's still wet, you're gonna take your black, flat black, and you're gonna lightly mist. Just a light mist over it. Now, if you get, like I just did, you can go back over it while it's still all wet with that copper. And what that does is that melts that colors together as long as it's still wet. And then you're going to let it thoroughly dry. And that's all there is to it. This is what it looks like when you're done. And it just depends on how dark you want to go. is how much the matte black that you blend into it. Okay, this is my spice rack. For those that have been around, you've heard the story. Bought it at a church yard sale. My daughter-in-laws were with me, thought I was nuts, till I brought home, hung it on the wall, and bought the bottles from Amazon along with the labels and made it my spice rack. And I absolutely love it. It's probably one of my favorite pieces in the house. So, on top of it this year, I put that copper Hobby Lobby sign. I'm not big into signs, but I love the copper, and that's why it made the cut this year. On top of it, I have my vintage or antique mashers. I got this idea from Susan from the old So-and-So. She lined her kitchen window ledge with them, and I absolutely loved that idea. In fact, she has a shelf that goes across the window, and I looked at it, and my husband's like, it blocked too much light, and he vetoed it. And I'm like, all right. But she has some great ideas. If you go over to her channel, make sure you mention that A Home to Love sent you, and enjoy her content. It's fabulous. If you're into primitive, vintage, and lots of maximalist stuff. If you're a minimalist, stay away because it'll give you a heart attack. So we'll move over to the area over by the laundry room door and the freezer next. This is where the garage door and my laundry room are. It jugs into this area over here in my kitchen. I originally had a curtain up here, and I liked it, but I thought, needed a little change. So what I did is I frosted the window with a product called Gallery Glass in the clear. It looks like a glue, and I just painted it on and swirled it, and it just blocks the view into the garage without blocking the light. If I had my way, I would just have a solid door, but it is what it is. We learn to live with what the house gives us and be thankful and joyful for it, because I truly am. I love this house. I am so blessed to have it. Even through the hurricanes and all the stuff that we survived through, still blessed to have it. So, that being said, I added more brick wallpaper to this wall. Now, up above, I did have a shelf up here. I took that down and I added some ironstone platters that I just hung up there. Nothing too fancy. Now over here, I've had this faux frame. It originally was from Hobby Lobby, and I got it at Goodwill. And normally I have a wreath up here, but because I put so much florals and things into the rest of the kitchen, I took that down. And I had this print that I got last year off of Amazon. I don't think they're printing it this year. And I hung it on the latch with some ribbon. And then a little bit of museum putty to keep it so it doesn't flop around. This right here was an old board that we have a lot of scrap wood from projects around the house, and my husband sticks them in a bin out behind the shed. So I went and rummaged through there. It was perfect size. I faux painted it to sort of match all the rest of the wood that was going on. The hooks are from Hobby Lobby. I buy those when they go 50%. They have some fantastic hardware options if you're looking for knobs, hooks, things of that nature. Don't pass on that 50% deal. So I just have 3 of them sitting here, and this time around, normally I have my aprons hanging here, but I changed it up, and I have this little basket that I added some white florals with a little bit of greenery this time to offset all the oranges and the yellows and bring in the white that you'll see plays into other parts of the kitchen. Hung it with a little ribbon, and that's that first hook. Now the second hook I'm gonna grab it up over here, y'all. I found this gorgeous copper pot with the wood handle at one of my thrift adventures. And I'm gonna hang that one right here. I paid, I think, $6 for it. I'm so thrilled. It was one of my happy dance moments. I have the little tiny copper pot that I found, I think, for $2.99. It came with a little lid, but I don't need the lid. The little piece of string, and I'm gonna hook that over the top of it. Last hook, I have a neutral dish towel that I put a little embroidery there at the end, and I am just gonna hang that right here. And that's that. Simple, but I think it brings the copper from that side of the kitchen and above it down to this area. And I love to repeat a metal, a color throughout my area to make it cohesive and flow. All right, back up on the ladder, y'all, and y'all are gonna see what I did to the top of the deep freeze. All right, back up on the ladder. So I have a crock that I crooked the number 2. I wanted it larger. This is one of those Ohio crocks. It's not a vintage crock. I bought it at Ace. So you can also get them at Tractor Supply, I believe. In here, I have my vintage rolling pins. What I did is I took, see that mustard yellow again? I had these florals, I believe Dollar General. I got those. I have these little like mustard seed like ones. Those were a Hobby Lobby, and then some greenery again to mix in was a Dollar General. And all I did is kind of just stuff it in there. I didn't, as long as it looked cute, I was okay with it. Up here I have a piece of wood with a doily. I use wood, books, wood risers, boxes, if you don't see them. Anything you could use a riser for, I think is great. Now, I know, I have to bend down to get it. In this oil lamp, I'm going to carefully take that off so I don't bust it. It didn't have the wick. I don't like to run these if I don't, with the oil. They're pretty, don't get me wrong. Inside of this, I hope you can see it, is some little faux pumpkin, bowl filler, and some little pine cones. And I think that's it. And I filled it because I thought, that would be really pretty. In the spring, you could put flowers, pretty much anything that fits through that hole, you can put in these, the clear ones at least. This is nice and heavy, and it had the glass. I was so thrilled. That was a good thrift day. Really good thrift day. Now, I have this little cute, I found it at another thrift store. You're going to hear it over and over again. Love to thrift. I know you think that's probably all I do. I don't. But I'd rather go thrifting and find something unique than do something mass produced. That's just the way I feel about it. Now, it has the recipe cards. It's galvanized with, I think it would be like a candlestick holder. You could probably make one of these if you found the elements for it. I just thought it was super cute. I wrote my mother's fried chicken recipe on it, and I just thought, oh. And I'm going to set that up here between the crock and that oil lamp. Next to it, sorry if you see on the top of my head, are those copper salt and pepper grinders that I got from Target. I do buy things from Walmart, Target, really about it, Amazon. but I'm very selective about what I do buy. So the last item that I'm going to put up on here is some greenery. Now these were just pieces that were from that I didn't use. We always get those pieces that fall off that I always keep because you just never know. And I'm just going to set that up in there, making sure it does not block the functioning element of the door because we don't want that to happen. And that is the top of my freezer. I hope you are getting a ton of inspiration and ideas from this video. If you are, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment if you would change something, if you have a question for me, anything like that. I am very active in those comments. I love to chit chat with you guys. Means the world to me. We are going to move off this ladder for the last time, and we're going to start on to the countertops. If you're enjoying this video, and I guarantee, wait until you see what I have for the dining room and the living room. I think I outdid myself this year. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. You really don't, oh, and the notification bell. You don't want to miss those videos. And Lord willing, I will be very consistent in each week. I post on Thursdays, and you get to see those videos. Now, down off this ladder, guys. No more. I promise. Let's move on. Okay, on my counter, I have my microwave, my toaster. Those stay. I don't put those up. In fact, we are talking about moving the microwave to the cabinet above the oven once the weather cools off so he can get in the attic. But let me get a little closer. I have the brick wallpaper as my backsplash. Now, I had someone ask me, they thought that this looked too cool and this looked too warm. What it is the LED lights that I have under my cabinets are a very data light color. Very, very bright, very, very white. It causes this to look so much cooler than it actually is. In fact, I'm going to show you. See the difference? Now you kind of see really what the color reflects down here. So I just wanted to address that. I'm going to turn those back on for you. Just with a little touch and they come up. Now I have a thrifted frame with some pears artwork that again brings that yellow over here. I have a couple of cutting boards that I've leaned against the back wall. And then I'm going to bring y'all in a little bit closer to what we're doing here. There we go. Now this is my sink, so this is the area that we're working on. Now, I have some books. I use books all the time. I love antique books, but can't always find them. Dollar Tree, if you want to call it Dollar Tree, because they've upped their prices again. You can go in and buy hardcover books for, it was $1.25. Who knows what it is now. I got these. They were nothing special, really not something I would read, but I just liked the size and that they were hardcover. I took some chalk paint and I painted these books. I know those that are book people are like, oh, but you know what? I'm that way too. If they're a good, solid, desirable book, these were not. I even tea stained or took some paint and went over lightly the pages too. So you can still read these if you wanted to. I didn't like rip out pages, but I did take a white, a muddy brown, and a beige. And I'm going to set them right here between the cutting boards and that pear picture. The next item that I have it was a primitive little cabinet that has the hole. You can hang it on the wall. It was a bright red. I took some black chalk paint, went over it, and I'm going to set that right in there. I left the drawer slightly open, and I have a couple of tiny little rolling pins to tie into the rolling pins that are up on the counter, or the freezer, excuse me. Little doily. On top of that, I have a little small crock and some faux florals. I don't remember where I got these. I love them because they have the green, the orange, and stuff. I wish I did remember where I got them. And I'm just going to set that right there. Brings instantly that fall color in. Oh, my butter dish from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to set that at the end as like a book stop. Last couple of items. Oops. I love to collect ironstone. I love to collect whiteware. I think it goes with everything. I love that vintage vibe. It's not for everybody. I understand that. These are old and crazed, and they're wonderful. I'm gonna set them right next to this cabinet. And on top of it, I have a mortar and pestle, a marble one. Inside it, I have placed some of these little faux pumpkins that you can get from Hobby Lobby. They're usually on a stick or a pick. Took the little pick off. Stuck them in there with some fall colored leaves that were part of some garland that fell and they were in the bottom of the box. I use everything. So I'm going to set that right there. And that is this side of the sink's little vignette. We're going to move over to the other side after I show you my close-up of my faux Roman shade. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're having fun. I hope you feel like you're decorating with a friend, because that's really what I want it to be. I thoroughly enjoy doing this for y'all. I think I wish you were here with me. It would be so much fun. I would give you some tea, some coffee, some goodies to eat. We would chit chat, and you could tell me a little to the left, a little to the right. No, give me your opinion, like most friends do. So, all right, let's move on to the valance. Now, like I said before, I got the fabric in a bolt from one of the local thrift stores that I hit up all the time. They're really good about fabric, trim, that kind of stuff. I as a sewer, I love that store. It's a hit or miss, like I said. Sometimes you find some great stuff, sometimes you don't. First time I looked at it, I passed by it, and I'm like, didn't look like much on the bolt. Then when I decided I was going to go with the mustard yellow, I thought about this fabric, and I thought, oh, I hope it's still there. Went back, and God blessed me, and it was still on the bolt. In fact, I got a discount because it had sat there for a while. So I think it's great. I put the dark green trim on the bottom of it. It does not fold down. I should have lined it because you can see through it. I probably will. After the fall season, when I take it down, I would probably line it for maybe next year if I use it. If not, it was cheap. To me, sewing is relaxing, so it's a bonus for me that I can do that. So, okay, on to the other side. We're almost done. Almost. Then I have a couple questions for you. Okay, we have a cutting board that I thrifted. Has a hole in the end. I took a couple risers from Hobby Lobby when they were on clearance, and I made my own riser. I was recently at Hobby Lobby. I needed a couple extra stems. I found this plant stand, 50% off. I thought, you know what? It fit absolutely perfect in that hole, and I can turn it and I can move it, and it adds an extra dimension to this riser, something different for fall. I have a little tiny stool that it was at the local antique mart that I found, and I absolutely loved it. So those are my basics. Now, as a riser, I add a book. I have a wreath that I purchased from Hobby Lobby last year when it was 90% off. I bought a couple of them. I have another cloche from Home Goods. Inside this is little small copper molds that I thrifted, and again, adding that copper to this side of the kitchen. And you'll see I have another copper mold up there. In between those two, I have my butter belt. If you're like, oh, you're blocking the outlet, I have an extension outlet that I tuck away under here so that it is still accessible and usable. Now, under here, I have, it's a reproduction little thing. I got it from Dollar General when it was $3. I'm going to set that under here. On top of it, I found this little bottle at an antique mart. I don't think I paid much for it, but I just thought it was cute, and I love the color again. The vintage mashers, utensils, I am going to set that right in there. And on top of it, I have this little tiny sifter that, again, another antique mart. I have some silver spoons that I am just going to place in there. There we go. Now, onto this riser, I've got some more ironstone plates. I'm going to use those as risers. I have a doily that I am going to kind of fold and fuss with a little bit. On top of that, I have a white extra large creamer. I got it from Dollar General. It had a floral arrangement inside of it that I took out. I just really wanted the creamer. Some of those stems, I got these from Amazon. They're not selling them this year, sorry. And I'm going to place that on top of those. Timer from Target. And the last item that goes behind the butter dish is a candlestick with a rust-colored candle. Now, usually I like my candles to be on timers, but I couldn't find a chunky one like this that I really liked. And that's that one. Now, for over here on the opposite side of my range, I have a earthenware pitcher that I put my wooden utensils, a cutting board that I think I got from TJ Maxx when it was on clearance, a reproduction antique twine holder with scissors, some antique salt and pepper shakers, and then my hot pads. And then I have that little bit of art up the side. So we have one more area, and that's my kitchen island. On the kitchen island, I have a runner that I made from more of that fabric that I had left over, a shorter runner, the dark brown from Amazon, a charcuterie board or cutting board, Ross, a couple of cookbooks, my copper teapot, which I bought this bush of florals from Hobby Lobby. It all came in one piece, and I just stuffed it down in there. No fuss, no muss. A candlestick holder, thrifted. a large LED on a timer candle that lights up at 4 o'clock and goes off at, I believe, 9. Some of these ceramic pine cones that I think were a Goodwill find last year. And I am just gonna place those in there. And that is my island vignette. Well, that completes my cozy cottage fall kitchen. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope this really inspired you, got you in those fall mood, feel all the feels for fall. Question I have for you. I have the chandelier here. I took the shades off for the summer. I have multiple chandelier shades. Should I put shades on this again? Do you think it would add to that warm, cozy feel? Hey, I'll go grab one off the dining room one so I can give you an idea of what it looks like. Okay. Here's what it looks like without. Here's what it looks like on. To shade or not to shade is the question. Please put it down in the comments and let me know your thoughts on it. Well, y'all, now it's time for the close-up look at everything we've done. And you want to make sure you come back next week. Next week, we are going to do centerpieces for the dining room table. I'm going to show you quite a few options for y'all out there. And then after that, it's the dining room itself. So don't want to miss it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I will see you all next week.